We alive right now, man. It's going down, excited for the season. You know, we coming off a playoff win. I mean, you know, we had a couple wins.
At least pride-wise, made me feel good because you don't ever want to get swept.
And I've never done this. I wouldn't wish this on anyone.
If you ask me, can the Bucks win Game 5? I'd put it at
100%
confidence. Yes.
I wouldn't wish this on anyone.
At this point, we don't know what's going to happen. You can get Game 6. You can steal it.
I wouldn't wish this on anyone.
Winning Game 6 and 7?
I wouldn't wish this on anyone.
I don't think they're going to win the whole series, but
I wouldn't wish this on anyone.
Hello, and welcome to Diaries, a Milwaukee Bucks podcast presented by us, the extremely sad and deflated staff of Brewhoop. My name is Riley Feldman, one of your usual co-hosts here for Game 4 instant reaction between Bucks Pacers. Bucks go down and defeat 129-103, but that is burying the massive lead that it looks very likely that Damian Lillard tore his Achilles, his left Achilles, about, I want to say it was like 10 minutes into the game, end of the first quarter. Loose ball, he's kind of backing up to go back and transition on defense. He has shifts his direction forward to go after a loose rebounds, and he goes down non-contact injury, grabs for his left calf, taken off the court, and then it's reported pretty quickly thereafter that he's not returning for Game 4, and Chris Haynes was the first to get it that the fear is a torn left Achilles. So everything after that was more or less academic with a little bit of flavoring of this or that, which we can get into, but I'm joined this evening, unfortunately for them, by Jackson Gross and Jack Traherne. Thanks, guys, for being able to hop on. Who wants to be the first one to do the funeral? Whoever wants to jump in first, go for it.
Yeah, I'll go. It just like the bad luck just continues for this team. You know, they just cannot get a healthy playoff run, and I mean, the future outlook is scary to think about. If we even, you know, like I was talking to Van in the playback stream, and it's just like you're thinking about the present and what Dame's going through and all that stuff, and the game right in front of you. And because at the start that we were only down by like the Bucks were only down by like 7, 8, 10, and it was like they could still win the game, and then it'll be a timeout, and you start thinking about the long-term implications of this. I mean, we are assuming it's a serious injury. We don't know that yet for sure. So, but yeah, just a really numb feeling watching the game for me. But yeah, what do you think, Jackson?
I guess personally, for most of my mental health, I didn't get a chance to watch much of it. I just think you hit the nail on the head. It's just like, what is 2025/26 gonna look like? That's because with him potentially tearing it so late, he's gonna basically be out definitely the entire 2025 portion of the season, if not the entirety of next season. And he'll be 35, 36 years old at that point. And then what else do you have? Like, your best role players are all free agents, and Gary, Torian, Bobby, Brooke, they're all potential free agents. You want to throw Pat into that mix too. You have Kyle Kuzma as your purported third best player under contract. You don't have any of your own first round picks until 2031. And the best you're going to be able to do is get half of Dame's salary on the hardship for a player for one season, which would be about $20-something million. So it's so hard. This is how, just bringing it back, at least to my formative years, this is how it felt every year when Derrick Rose got injured. It's like, what the hell are the Bulls doing? Like, because you get a random run out of a Nate Robinson or DJ Augustine as the starting point guard, and you think, okay, maybe when he comes back, it'll be all good and we can do something. And the best they ever did was losing 5 to the Heat in the conference finals. So it's like, And then that's even worse because the Bulls still had picks. They were still drafting really well. You just don't see a lot of avenues to kind of work yourself out of this.
I mean, we're gonna have so much time to talk about how screwed they are. Unlimited amount of time to talk about how screwed they are, because this is, if it is what is feared, it instantly becomes like one of the worst contracts in the league. The draft capital is not existent. You ran through a lot of free agents there, Jackson. We also, you did not include Kevin Porter Jr., Ryan Rollins, two guys with upside. I mean, they've had, let's just say, iffy playoff performances so far. So, the upside is TBD, but large portions of the roster that are set for free agency, potentially. So the long-term implications, we'll have a lot of time to talk about it. You're right, though. I mean, to circle back and say, you feel for Dame, like he had this DVT diagnosis, really scary. They catch it early, almost like miraculous. He's able to come back way ahead of time. They're like, well, maybe game 3. He says, nope, we're going to go game 2. The numbers weren't amazing, but the fact that he was out there at all with the amount of minutes he was playing is amazing. And the gravity, again, just spacing he was able to generate, just being out there was like, okay, that's better than you're going to get from anybody else who's filling in for him. So, on the court, obviously a huge loss, but, heart goes out to him individually, because it's, I'm sure his mind is all sorts of, I can't even imagine where his mind is at. So, I hope whatever it is that they're able to get it under control pretty quickly. And he's obviously in great medical care, but a heart goes out to him. Let's talk a little bit about the game beyond that, not to just move right along, but I mean, until we know what's going on with Dame, we're not going to really know. So he goes out. I think the lead was for the Pacers about 8 to 10 points, like you said, Jack. So following a little bit of the scripts of game 3, where the Bucks were down a bit and it took a stronger second half for them to be able to overcome, especially on the back of Gary Trent Jr. in game 3. You could just tell that the teams, the spirits flagged almost immediately. Kevin Porter Jr. was clearly not like ready. He was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm playing now. And it did not go super duper well. He second best scorer on the team, 23 points, 9-17 shooting, 5-7 from 3. So like overall the numbers are okay, but just the actual execution was super lacking. The defense was non-existent. I think the Pacers ended up shooting about 60% from the floor on the nights. The Bucks get it to within striking distance at the half, and then the third quarter run comes where Milwaukee finally starts hitting a bunch of shots, and the Pacers answered literally every single basket. And it wasn't just twos for twos. It was the Bucks would hit a 2, and the Pacers right back with a 3, and the Bucks would hit a 2, and here's the Pacers again with a wide open 3. TJ McConnell was cooking guys alive. I mean, every worst nightmare you could think of in an on-court thing happening did happen in this game. So I wish I could tell you that, oh, we saw some signs, some encouraging signs. Giannis was still pretty good. Like, he was great from the free throw line. Unfortunately, you blow the Giannis free throw game on this one, but it is what it is. So you have Giannis, but I'm looking at the rest of the box score here. I'm looking at the names we have available. Back to game 1, at least you have a plan. Like, okay, we're not going to have Dame, but he's coming eventually. I don't know where they go from here. Like, Jack, watching it, was there... I know, again, everybody's mind is on Dame, understandably so, but was there anything from the game that you're like, oh, that's good for the future, like heading forward in the series? Anything of note there, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, the problem that seemed to crop up a lot is, I mean, there's two problems is with Giannis is they naturally play through him a lot out of necessity, because you can't really run offense through too many other guys on the court, especially when Dame is not on the court. Like, Kuzma is like your third option in that starting lineup. And so, it's hard because the personnel doesn't really match up what I was like. I was talking to Van in the playback, and it was just like they're just standing around a lot. And I mean, this has been my criticism of the team like basically the whole season, the last 2 seasons, is they stand around a lot, and it's just you can't win in the NBA that way. They weren't screening, they weren't forcing 2-on-1s, they weren't forcing mismatches, and in terms of anything that they could, so that was a problem. And then in terms of stuff they could take forward, I mean, Kevin Porter Jr. is going to start. I mean, you're just going to have to, the optimistic take, if you want an optimistic take, is Dame was horrible in what was it, the last game 3, and obviously his gravity helps a lot, but also he shot 2 of 12, so I think you need to sort out defensively. Like they're switching a lot, and it's just not a Brooks series. Like they just can't do anything with him. Like the drop is killing them, the switching is killing them. I'd probably start Bobby in game 4. They started him out of the second half tonight. Try and initiate with KPJ in actions with Giannis, and then just try and get mismatches. But other than that, like, there's not a whole lot of guys where you go, AJ Green, you could probably get him involved in some stuff, but there's not a lot of like avenues where you go, oh, we'll just do this with no Dame, I think.
I think it's a good point too about like this series really contrasted the way the Bucks approach their offense versus the Pacers, and obviously there's personnel differences, but I mean it's just constant motion, and the Bucks get caught out and they can maybe cover that first rotation, but then the Pacers, like a machine, go to that second rotation, go to that third rotation, and it's Halliburton is obviously as a guard able to just move freely. He moves around a lot and he facilitates a lot, so I think he ends the game with like 15 assists. It's just so different. The Dame goes out, Bucks are like, okay, you're kind of, obviously you need to try and find your footing again. And it's just Giannis triple team jumper or like belated kick out to the wrong guy. It's like, okay, well, that's our offense. That's what we got to run. And again, you understand in the couple of minutes right after the injury, you're like, okay, everything's like really out of sorts. You got to get a timeout, try and figure it out. You would hope after the half that you'd have a little bit more coherence. And the best that we had was Kyle Kuzma blowing layups right at the rim over and over again. Kuzma with 3 points on 1 of 6 shooting and an assist. So he got really close again to another like 0-for game, which is really hard to almost believe.
I don't know how he is so bad at missing layups. It is
really
the
bad.
most confusing thing I've ever watched.
Yeah, it's strange, and it's obviously, like you said, if he's the third option, well, I mean, he's filling the role less than good, I would say. I'd be interested what his averages are. Is he averaging like 2 points in this series or something? I mean, it's not a lot. It's pretty bad.
I don't even know what he had in game 3. I know he had like 13 in game 2 or whatever that was, but
yeah. Kuzma's last stand, game 2. He said, I'm leaving it all out on the floor tonight for my guys.
He had 4 layups. He had 4 layups in that third quarter, and he's like, all right, my time has come. Mr. Oubre himself out of there.
Yeah. I wish I could have a better way to drive this discussion. I mean, it's such a bummer. In terms of like what they can do heading forward, I agree you got to go with Bobby. But even then, part of the trouble too is the Bucks switch. They willingly switch. I mean, they were trying to run the zone for a lot of the game, and it worked in some instances. And then that third quarter came through, and they just could not stop the Pacers from 3 at all. The other issue is when Miles Turner is out there, Bobby switches pretty often, and usually it's Kevin Porter Jr., in this case, Ryan Rollins, with like some real roller coaster minutes there for his, what did he play, like 8 minutes or something? Yeah. Like they just get that mismatch, that switch, and then it's like, well, the guy either has to foul to stop the possession to prevent giving up a super easy jumper to Miles Turner 3 feet from the basket, or you're giving up a super easy Miles Turner shot from 3 feet from the basket. And so maybe there's some adjustments you can do with the way that they are trying to navigate around picks with their guards to say, hey, we're not going to readily switch in the same way we had. I think Bobby did an okay job the couple of times he was stuck on Halliburton or the other guards. He tried to get the team going a little bit in that third quarter in terms of being a leader type guy, getting in a fight with Aaron Naismith over a ball, which I didn't quite get it in the moment, but whatever. And then he tried to get the fans into it. So Bobby did the best he could, but you got to ride him more than 24 minutes and hope that the defensive execution is a little better with some planning. I guess that's the move, right?
Yeah. The zone thing is, I've been wanting to make this point when I was on this podcast, or when I would be on this podcast for the last few days, is that the zone is funny, right? Because it's like people think of it as like, oh, it insulates bad defenders and stuff. But like, for example, like the Bucks out on the court at any one time, let's say Dame, because I was thinking of it from last game, Dame's on the court, and then it's like Gary Trent, Bobby, Giannis, Brook, and it's like there aren't overly too many of these guys are like smart individual defenders. And so when you go to the zone, it actually makes me more nervous because then they don't just have a man to cover. It's you have to cover space. And then what if no one's in your area? Then you have to button down and get the middle. And it's like there's all these little micro sort of decisions that you have to make when they're running the zone. Like tonight, there was a textbook play where they cover the first sort of swing correctly. Pass to the wing, pass to the center. Correct guy rotates. Pass to the wing. The guy on the block rotates up, and so you're 2 for 2. And then they had a guy in the corner, and that was Giannis's last rotation. And I don't know whether it was because he was tired because he had played so much. Probably, that's probably a fair assessment. But Giannis just didn't go. He just stood in the key, and the guy, it was wide open 3, bang. And it's just like, that's the thing with this team is they can cover maybe 1 or 2 decisions, but if you keep passing the ball and you keep making them think, they've proven that they'll eventually be gotten, from those decisions. And then the other thing that I noticed tonight is just the blow-bys, like guys looking for a screen one way and then they just get blown by, and then it's 2-on-1, and then it's a swing 3, and it's like there was just so many, like, it's just a one-on-one action and you're just like letting a guy get past you. I don't know if it's individual pride, if it's technique, but like there's just a lot of that tonight too.
The other thing, so I think that's interesting, the way that like, oh yeah, in theory it helps insulate, but part of it too is who's the organizer out there. So Brook is not playable, more or less. I mean, you can try and survive, but it's just not working great. So if Brook's not out there and Brook is the organizer guy, who is it? Is it Bobby?
There really isn't one.
No, there isn't. And so normally, like when you think of the Bucks, and of course, you always go back to the title team because it's obviously the culmination of success. But you had Drew and you had Brook, who are 2 great on-court organizers. You have Drew on the perimeter, and you have Brook backing it up. I think Chris probably was a pretty good communicator just because he has a lot of basketball knowledge. And so on the court, you have kind of another organizer. So now, like you said, that lineup, okay, it's Bobby, it's Giannis, it's like Rollins or KBJ, AJ Green, and then whoever your 5th guy is. Not a single guy out there is like the communicator organizer guy. And a lot of them are really young. And this is their first like playoff experience at all. Like, that's just a lot to ask of anybody, and I just don't think there's that guy. Like, if it's not going to be Brook, I don't see a single other name on here. Maybe Gary Trent Jr., but I think he's so focused in on like, I have to try and survive these Halliburton minutes. Like, what the hell am I doing trying to think for everybody else? Like, I'm just trying to stay alive out here. I got no other choice. So I think that's just compounding the issue that you can build a strong team defense schematically, but you need people to help organize that on the court and execute it. And I just don't think, even if they have the physical tools, I just don't think they necessarily have the personnel to organize it properly to make it stick. Obviously, I mean, the Pacers shot 60%, 60+% from the floor. And they've had some outstanding offensive games. So, I mean, not just in this series, but like throughout the season against the Bucks as well. So this isn't just a game 4 issue. This is a recurrent issue against this team in particular.
Yeah, just seeing it over and over again. And I think it's a twofold thing where they not only they tire you out physically because they run so much in the early part of the game, and every single game this series, the Bucks have been down at some point by a fair margin in the first quarter, whether the starting lineup has changed or not. And they exhaust you physically early, and then in the second half they exhaust you mentally if you're going to run the zone or if you're going to continue to switch. And for me, I don't understand why the game plan is to just, like, I understand like on a wing to wing or guard to guard thing, like you would switch. Why the game plan at all is for on a pick and roll, Bobby switches onto the guard, and whoever the guard is has to switch on to Miles Turner or Obi Toppin or whatever, because it's not like yes, the Pacers have good shooters, but it's not to the level of where they don't have, and not obviously no one really else does. They don't have like a Steph Curry or a Buddy Hield or someone who is just completely like you have to stick to them at all times in a pick and roll scenario. Yes, you need to cover them and catch and shoot, like Aaron Nesmith, those type of guys. Like, yes, you need to cover them and catch and shoot opportunities. But off the bounce, like the only real guy is Halliburton. He hasn't really shot that well from 3 in this entire series. So that part of it does not make any sense to me, where you're giving up 2 to 3 points just on, okay, it's either a foul, a layup, or a foul, and a layup is made anyway. And just the last thing, the biggest difference tonight, everyone who played outside of Ben Shepherd and like the bench guys for the Pacers scored in double figures. The lowest was Jarris Walker and Siakam, who had 12 apiece. And the Bucks had 3 guys who were in double figures. So, and then apparently they spotted Dame in crutches and a boot. So,
okay, that's not good. Well, that's about in line with our expectations. I think the question of why you go with the switch or which switches you concede or which ones you go after is interesting. And like, if I was to just, as an idiot who talks on a podcast once a week, try to break down, get in the mind of Doc Rivers, is the idea to try and look, we'll slow down Halliburton and hope that we burned enough time that they can't reset and then find the next shot. But like, that just isn't working. Like, the Pacers don't take time to set up their offense. The Bucks take time to set up their offense. Hey, by the time Giannis starts his action, I mean, we're down to 8 seconds on the shot clock and we got to move quick to make something happen. The Pacers get it across the half court line and they're kind of already running like the high screen to see what happens. Okay, then, okay, Bobby switches. Great. Like, Halliburton's not even going to necessarily attack Bobby. You can tell he's dribbling just to try and buy a time to get a teammate to hunt that mismatch and say, can I get it over to this guy? So it's not like the Bucks are crowding Halliburton or inviting him to make bad choices. Or if they are, he's saying, I'm not going to go for it. Like, he's wisely not taking the bait. And so part of it too, though, is like the guys who are going to be out there, whether it was Dame or otherwise, are any of them great screen navigators? Trent is probably the best of the bunch, but like Rollins was blown by TJ McConnell like so many times in that third quarter. It's just a short stretch, but those are back-breaking possessions where he just could not stay in front of TJ McConnell, who has a lot of control. But come on. And Kevin Porter Jr. is like, you know, decent defensively, but you know, no stopper himself. AJ Green, I have my complaints about him on defense. So I wonder if part of it is the guards are just not good enough. So we need to do the switch. Otherwise we're flirting with even greater disaster. Maybe that's the thought. I don't know. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, it's really an interesting point, Jackson. You could all look, if you want to keep them out of the lane, you could always just go under on Halliburton pick and rolls and hope he misses. And to your point, if you think he's not going to make those shots, I mean, I'm not sure what he shoots on the season. I want to say he's a pretty good 3-point shooting player, but I mean, in terms of what they're doing to me, they are picking their poison, and it's what you just said, Kyle Riley. Sorry, got my podcasts mixed up there. They, yeah, I think that they don't trust their guards to get around screens the way you would like a Drew, for example, and so they are just saying we are conceding this and only this, and if you score doing this, then we can game plan out of that. Maybe we double the post or whatever, but they don't really trust the guards to kind of play instinctually, get under, get over the screen sort of thing. I think they're just like, we are going to give up this, and like I said, if you want this to be a open 3-point shot from Halliburton, it's interesting. They might literally try that in Game 5. They might just go under all his pick and rolls. They might go under everyone's pick and rolls, for that matter. You know, Nemhard, Neesmith, whatever it is. But yeah, I just don't think that they trust the players to play instinctively in that way.
Nor should they. Did you watch that game? Anybody watch that game? There's ample evidence that you should not necessarily trust that to be able to get you through. So probably a wise choice, but belies the fact that they have some tough choices. I'd be curious. Obviously it's 11 o'clock, 11:37 Central on a Sunday evening. So I'm not going to go back and look right now, but how they're defending the Pacers this series versus how they did last season. Because I want to say they kind of switched over time to try and force Halliburton to beat them. And there was also a certain amount of the Pacers would get to those mid-rangers, and they didn't make them at the same rate that they did in this series, but they were still making enough tough ones, especially Siakam, to be like, okay, it's not, you're trying your best, but it's just not really working. So I'd be curious. I'll put that in the post ideas chat to compare and contrast versus last season, but curious there.
Sorry, to that
we're
point.
At 26. Yeah, go for it.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, you're right. We were 15 of 37 from 3, and they were 18 of 39. So they barely beat us from the 3-point line, but they made 13 more 2-point shots than we did. So they made their mid-range / layups tonight at a way higher rate than we did.
Yeah, it was that third quarter that broke their backs. I mean, it was like either mid-rangers or 3-pointers, and there was just no in between, or like the TJ McConnell, he hits a layup for death sort of thing that was going on in that third quarter, unfortunately. All right, we're at about 27 minutes. We'll let's talk into Game 5. What's one thing you'd like to see the team do? I mean, go out on their shield. Obviously, don't go out like chumps. I would say that would be a good start. Anything else you think the Bucks should do? The things you'd like to see them do in Game 5?
For fan enjoyment aspects, I want to see Giannis go for like a 60 piece in the playoffs, just to have that on his resume and just like say that he's still obviously an elite playoff performer. From like schematic or like actually trying to win, I would personally say, God, I don't even know. Like I don't know what you do at that point. Maybe you just start. Do you start full court pressing? Do you like a trap? Or like just because the problem is with a pass first guy like Halliburton, you can't necessarily trap because he's looking to pass anyway, and he's such a good decision maker. You're not going to speed up his clock that way. So maybe just throwing just something different. Literally, we're just throwing pasta at the wall and seeing what sticks.
I want them to make the Pacers shoot tough shots. Like I want them to. I think there was a lot of instances tonight where they just had defensive breakdowns, blow by into an open shot. I think there was one possession, and this always seems to happen with Taurean Prince. I'm sorry, but like he was guarding a guy and they ran like a ghost screen, and Taurean just ran away from Halliburton, who made a 3. And it's just like this is basic stuff, guys. Like I just want them to force them into tough shots. And then that should allow Milwaukee to get out and run, and because that's really the only way we're scoring in this I mean, that's where the Bucks' advantage is on the fast break. So I just want them to execute defensively and look, if they make tough shots, they make tough shots, but I don't want breakdowns.
I got a couple of things. One, I want to see discipline play. I know that Bobby was trying to, rally the team and everything, but I just the back and forth talk between them and the Pacers is old. It's tired. It's stupid. You get baited into it. I don't like that. I don't like that, especially with now a young rotation that's like, okay, we're getting really mixed signals. Clearly, everybody's freestyling and making their own decisions, and there's no team concept of what's happening out here, even in responding to like Pacers trash talk. So I don't want Game 5 to be like a bloodbath where we're just trying to choke the other team to death, literally. Like I just let's avoid that. If you're gonna go on your shields, do it the quote unquote right way. Obviously, if Bobby wants to throw a punch at a guy, whatever. But I'd like to see discipline. Kevin Porter Jr. is going to get the starts. I want to see that pick and roll action with Giannis right away, and let's just spam that a lot because they went away from that in this game. They just put Giannis pretty much at the elbow, saw if they could get the ball into him. If not, you go to Bobby, reset, and then swing it back around again. You got to try something a little bit different. And I know that Porter he's two modes. He's either completely out of sync with everybody else and taking his own shots, or he seems to like have the magic touch and find the passes over and over and over again. And I don't think Kevin Porter Jr. has the magic touch on the night is going to be a like feasible strategy. So he has to march to Giannis's drum. Giannis has to work in that pick and roll with him. Giannis, they don't really have an answer for him besides throwing 3 defenders at him, but we're allowing them to do that because it's either like everything just stops. So I think Kevin Porter Jr. is going to start. I just want to see him play within the team concept, especially with Giannis, because I think that's really the only way you're going to get through. I don't know what else would I want to see. Kyle Kuzma have a pulse, please. I mean, he's going to get traded this summer anyways, presumably, but man, oh man, what a series. That is tough. I'm looking up and down the roster. I mean, it's a real shame that Taurean Prince, really had a strong or hard regression as soon as the playoffs hit. Lakers fans warned us that's tough. Kyle Kuzma not good. Brook can't really play him. Gary Trent was like okay tonight, but only scored 6 points. He did not have another game 3 performance in him. So I guess I just want to see heart. I want to see professionalism / discipline. And then if we're going with the Kevin Porter show, I don't want it to be the Kevin Porter show. I want him to be the primary ball handler that works with Giannis to see if there's anything there offensively, just to get things going. Because if we start and it's a lot of pass it into Giannis, who's on the block, and hope that he's able to make it happen. I mean, I've seen that script so many damn times in my life. I've seen it so many times, and it sometimes works, but more often than not, it does not, especially against a Pacers team that is high-flying, way more athletic, moving around a lot more, and is getting a lot more easy shots. So we'll see. Game 5 coming up. Any final thoughts from you guys? Thank you for joining late.
Yeah. Just one quick thing. I think this just popped in my brain while you were talking about like how the Bucks are running their offense. It reminds me so much of when Doc was in Philly, that last series he had against the Celtics. I think they were up 3-1 or 3-2 in that series. And all they made Embiid do was go on the block, go on the elbow, go on the block, go on the elbow. There was no creativity. And I think that was with James Harden in that series. And one of the few times James Harden's like showed up in the playoffs, which was crazy. So it reminds me so much of that, where he's just basically making Giannis into Joel Embiid. And that kind of pisses me off because there's so much more you can do with Giannis than compared to Embiid, where it's like, yeah, you want to get him on the elbow and the block so he can foul bait and get free throws. That is not Giannis. You want a fast team around him to play to his strengths in transition. So it pisses me off to no end, and I hate to say this about my Marquette people, but he got to go, man.
Yeah, but maybe this is Doc has him right where he wants. He said, hey, I've been up 3-1 in so many series. I know exactly where the pitfalls are. He has the Pacers right where he wants them. And maybe we'll be back for our Game 5 instant reaction, and something close to another miracle has happened. I think such a good point about the transition thing. You can tell it's been drilled into Giannis's head, hey, we're not running in transition, because there was a moment in the second quarter where KPJ is up at like above the break, and he's like Gary Trent Jr. is clearly like wide open in the corner, and he's trying to get his attention, like, give me the ball so I can give it to him because we got the wide open shot, and Giannis is just taking it. Like, it's clearly just been drilled into guys, which is completely asinine given the personnel. But again, these are more things that we'll be talking about a lot in the offseason, come hell or high water, depending on how the series goes. Jack, any parting thoughts from you?
I was going to say, I mean, Brook only played 15 minutes tonight. I was going to say, I mean, do they just sit him down completely? But I mean, I don't know. I think 15 is fine. What are you going to do?
I think if you structure it differently, if he's not the starter, if he's not a starter, maybe you can survive it a little bit more. I just don't think the Miles Turner matchup is like quite obviously through 4 games. It's just not workable.
Yeah, sorry. Frank Madden made this point on Locked On Bucks. I just want to shout out this point. He made a good point that if you bring Brook off the bench, he can kind of go against those McConnell lineups as opposed to Turner, and maybe he's guarding whoever that, like Thomas Bryant or something, who's a lot less dangerous from like it makes a lot more sense to bring him off the bench, because then in those minutes that he is playing, he's not getting smoked in the drop as he against the Pacers' first unit. It's more against their second unit. So I think absolutely bring him off the bench. That's it though.
All right, Bucks are down 3-1. Been here before, unfortunately. We'll see where they go. They lose tonight 129-103. Again, thank you so much for listening. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe. If you're listening on your podcast feed of choice, share with a friend. We don't know how many more instant reaction podcasts we'll get, but you'll at least get one more out of us. So we'll be back for Game 5 this coming Tuesday on the road in the Pacers. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you again very soon.